Hey guys, in today's episode of Gogopreneur, I am super excited to have my guest, Rock Thomas, who I personally have met multiple times, and he's just as amazing in person that he is online. I originally met him, let me tell you a fun story. So I have watched his Goalcast video over and over and over again. If you haven't seen his Goalcast video, just go into YouTube, put in Goldcast Rock Thomas, and you're going to be able to find that video that I'm talking about. It's his life story. And he talks about, the childhood that he went through and the life lessons that he learned and the lessons. And those are the lessons who formed who he is today. And I watched his Goldcast video multiple times over because I related. That was my childhood coming out through somebody else's mouth, right? And so I reached out to him. And one time I told him how I felt, and that was it, right? And one time I went to a Tony Robbins event, and it's funny how our brains can't really tell the difference, at least mine, can't tell the difference when I really know someone or if I just kind of know them from online. So I was walking into this Tony Robbins event, and he was coming towards me, and I yelled, "I know," right? And he yelled back, "And you are the go-go chick." And I was like, holy shit, no, I don't know him. I know him from YouTube because I watched a bunch of his Goalcast video a bunch of times over. So my brain thinks I know him when I actually don't. But the crazy part was he yelled back, "And you're that go-go chick." And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing something right in social media marketing, right? So I'm super excited. I had a chance to interview him a few years back. And then in that interview process, he told me that I need to join M1. And I was like, what the heck is M1, right? That's how it started. And M1 is the one program that made me a millionaire first, since then multimillionaire, but also debt free. We have not had bad reoccurring debt, just good debt since, and I have an 860 credit score, and I can thank M1 for that. So I wanted to interview Rock. Just because you guys know, I like to interview people that have achieved something that you and me can learn from. So let me bring up Rock. Come on, get to know him.
Welcome to Gogopreneur, where Gogo Bethke, your host, interviews badass rock star entrepreneurs of the world, figuring out who they are, how they got to where they're at, and the lessons they learned along the way, so you can learn those lessons and turn it into money. Let's go get 'em.
Well, hi there.
Well, hi there. How are you?
I am wonderful. I haven't seen you in so long. How are you?
I know, I'm doing fantastic. I decided to wear pink in honor of you.
Oh, thank you. As you can see, representing with all the older I get. I even have a pink crystal on my desk today.
Perfect. I love it.
I changed my crystals out, but today is pink. So good to see you. I'm so excited. This has been months in the making. My goodness.
I know we jumped through a few hoops, and I was in Asia for 5 weeks. So it's just a question of aligning our calendars, but
Yeah.
it's good to be here. And it's so nice to see people that are growth-based like yourself that had a chance to merge your lanes with what I do. And hopefully we threw a little, fuel on each other's fire.
I love it. So I would like the world to get to know you. So in case they don't know you yet, so I would like to start with your childhood, because that's what really introduced me to you, right? Like watching that Goalcast video over and over and over again. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I cried so hard, like, because I found so much in common with you. Not the farm necessarily, because I was born and raised in a city, but spent all the summers at my grandma's house, and which was as much of a farm as a farm can be. But just so much from your childhood and what you went through, I felt like, oh my gosh, it's like it's my words coming through somebody else's mouth. So can you just kind of in a 5-minute elevator pitch explain what you went through childhood
Sure.
and how that formed you to be who you are today?
Yeah, the short version, I think, is that I say to some people, I'm so sorry you didn't have a difficult childhood, and that's why you struggle today. And if you look at a lot of successful people, they were raised by single moms, or they were in environments that were very difficult. And mine was just a variety of that, youngest of 7 kids. My parents got divorced. I lived with my mom. My mom was a gypsy, so she was never around. I got into trouble with principals and setting fires and fights that eventually she gave up, and she said to my dad, why don't you take him? My dad wasn't interested in raising me, so I was mostly raised by my stepmom and my 6 brothers and sisters. And so on an emotional level, I really never experienced what it's like to be safe. And today, people, categorize that as trauma. And there's no question that I have trauma, and the trauma has allowed me to be incredibly resourceful. When you have to go at the age of 8.5 and feed 22 horses, and it's dark and it's cold in Canada, and you come back and you have a problem, like I can't reach the bale of hay, I can't pick it up or whatever, and parents say, go figure it out, and they lock the door and they say, you don't get to eat breakfast until you've just figured it out. You find another part of your brain that looks for a solution. And we all know this is that, through desperation, you become creative, or, necessity how does that go? Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you're forced to come up with a solution when you feel you don't have any other way. And when that happens repeatedly, you start to it becomes part of your identity. And so as an entrepreneur like you, there's no problem I look at that I go, oh my God, I'm screwed. Every problem I look at, I go, okay, I may not have the solution today.
I can't do that till I figure it out.
Exactly. So it's just like, how do I figure it out? I know there's a solution. I just keep on calling and asking. And so I think that's the greatest gift of going through difficult times, is you start to go, there's no problem I can't handle. And then if after a while, you start to raise your hand for problems that other people have passed on. And you're like, oh, I'll take that job. I'll take that on. I'll move that piece of furniture. I'll drive the car on the ramp. I'll, volunteer. I remember once I was at a Tony Robbins event, and we were gathered as volunteers, and they're like, okay, we need 4 door guards. Who wants to do it? And people are like, oh, that's an easy job. I'll do it. And they go, all right, this next one's going to be a bit of a challenge. And I put my hand up before they finished what it was. And they're like, Rock, you don't even know what it is. I go, doesn't matter. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. And those are the types of things that that have opportunities come to you. I'll tell you one more quick story that relates to my childhood. And it's that I was filming a movie with Patrick Dempsey in Montreal, Canada, called Meatballs 3. A lot of people, I don't know this, I haven't told this story almost ever. And I was a gopher, and they're filming a scene when Patrick loses his virginity, loses his virginity to some supermodel in a boat. So the camera angle is on the boat, and the scene is ready action, and the boat is supposed to be rocking up and down. You can imagine, right? And the boat doesn't move. And the director starts screaming, move the boat. Time is money. The boat doesn't move. I'm in the background, and this is a time before you had your phone in your pocket. And I literally run right off the deck into the water. It's September, it's cold, it's dark. And I grab the boat and I start rocking it. I stick my head out. And this is before my name was Rock. And I'm like, start rocking and go, how's this? And he goes, that's great. Hide your head, motherfucker. And action. So I rock the boat. Long story short, I come out of that, and a couple of weeks later, they're looking for another scene that's difficult where they have to move something through mud. Nobody wants to do it. And the director calls, where's that kid that rocked the boat? He'll do anything. And then to end the movie, there's a scene where they have to have a making out scene at a little cafe. And the director is looking around the room at all us extras. And he gets the most beautiful girl. And he goes, okay, you sit there. I need somebody to make out with you. He looks around the room and he goes,
that kid will do it.
Rock the boat. Come over here. Give her some tongue. Make out with her.
Oh, so there was some really good. You got lucky at the end, huh?
So I always say is that for every disciplined effort, there's a multiple reward. And when you're willing to do what other people aren't willing to do, you get the experiences that other people only dream about. And so you can actually see that movie. I rent it on, Netflix or something, Meatballs 3. And there is a scene with me with hair making out with a beautiful girl. And I thought I made it to Hollywood. I thought I was a rock star. But all of that to say, Gogo, is that, your childhood does get replicated. Our brains are attracted to familiarity. And they keep on wanting to go back like a homing pigeon to what you're familiar with. And that's in personal growth. If you're familiar with being beaten by your parents or your husband or your boyfriend, you'll go back to that unless you change the wiring. So a lot of the work I do in helping people become millionaires is change their wiring from being familiar with being a consumer to being familiar with being a producer and an investor. And when you change that wiring, you had that experience when you're somebody who's motivated and coachable like you are, bam, it's very quickly that you create a new result.
I think it was 4.5 months I paid off $89,000 in credit card debt and never been back there since. And that was probably what, 6 years ago, I would think.
About that.
And I just checked my credit score and it's 864, 864 credit. I was like,
wow. They're like, who is this girl?
I love learning. I hate not understanding something. I hate not being good at something, right? And you can figure anything out. Like if you sit down and you study it and you give it all you got and you read the books and you join these masterminds and you listen when people are teaching you, right? And you're willing to put in the work, there's no reason why you should be in any other situation than the best that you can probably wish for yourself.
You know what, though, Gogo, I will tell you this. After doing this for so long, I discovered after showing the system and the way to people, because I'd ask everybody virtually, you wanted me to help you become a millionaire? And most people say yes, but they don't do what I show them. And I'm like, what is going on here? And I've really discovered that so many people don't believe in themselves. They just, like, you can say, here's a workout program. They're like, oh, I won't be in the mood and I'll look bad. And, what if people see me and they'll laugh, etc. And it's really sad for me because you can lead a horse to water, but there's so many people that are just destined to be average, and their goal actually is to be comfortable. They're constantly, Tony Robbins, move toward pain or move away from pain. The majority of people are being programmed to move away from pain at all costs. Take a pill, eat some food, sit and watch Netflix. Don't talk to that person. Pretend that I'm introverted, whatever. And so it's very sad.
Oh, it's so sad. Like I went through this phase of like anger. Really, it turned me into an angry human because I feel like I'm dragging you to success, because since then I teach now too, right, Rack? And so I feel like I'm dragging all these 3-year-olds through Target all the way to the checkout line to like, I want to buy you this, like I want to give you this gift, right? And they are kicking and screaming the whole time. It's like they're throwing a fit while I'm dragging them to the finish line. And I'm like, I want something for you more than you want it for yourself.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is that there's, not everybody can be the leader. Not everybody can be at the top. And so you just have to accept that. And you got to build your skills on identifying talent. And you got to start, really believing people most people argue for their limitations. I'll tell them, well, here's what you have to do. And they're like, oh, I won't have time for that. I have to take care of my mother. I have to do this. Abigail, who you referred to me, she has 4 kids she raises, her mother who's got dementia, and she just she's at the top of her group in points in her unit. She doesn't make excuses. She reframes things. She's a badass. I just put a GoFundMe together for one of my VAs who has to go through an operation. She made a contribution. There are just people out there that you want to just go and hug and say, God bless you. And she's one of those people. Defy the odds, make it happen, and have no excuses. And then there's 97% of the population.
She showed up to my coaching because that's how it started originally. I was coaching her and she was ready to become a millionaire and needed more systems and stuff. And I didn't have that program yet. I'm starting now one that we're going to call the Circle. It's going to be a mastermind exactly like that, where I take multiple 6-figure earners to multiple 7 digits, right, consistently with systems. But I didn't have it then. So I was like, the best option that I did, right? I never refer anyone to anything or any service or any product that I didn't personally use. And since I went through your program, I'm like, you might want to check out M1. But isn't she amazing? Like, I remember her showing up to the coaching calls with nursing a baby as a single mom, while one was playing next to her and and she homeschools, if I remember correctly. And then she goes between the islands in New York, right? Because that's where she's originally from. It's just, her work ethic is unmatched, and I can see her do big things.
Yeah. And so I've just learned to identify those people, run with those people, and other people don't even, they can't watch the video. They can't do the assignment. You get on a weekly call with them and you're like, so what did you learn this week? And they're like, well, I couldn't find the, okay, whatever.
It's so,
So
it's so hard. So let's talk a little bit. I went through a phase after my childhood, right? I went to a phase. I don't want to call it a pity party. I didn't realize how much time I spent in my head thinking about my childhood. Like now, I'm good. I have done my research. I have done the ugly work at a million UPWs, right? And realize why I had to go through that, what I learned from it, what did I become from it. Right now, I thank my parents for the childhood. But did you go through a phase of pity party of why did this happen to me? Why did I have that childhood? So if someone's in that process still, and they haven't digested what happened, and in any situation, you can be a victim or a victor. And I feel like so many people are just spending so much time in the victor mindset, right? A victim, I should say, victim mindset. What was your process of getting out of it, and what would you give someone today?
yeah, it's such a great question because I think more and more, maybe it's just my algorithm on social media, but I see a lot of stuff around, somatic healing and trauma work.
What does somatic healing mean?
It means where you actually do things like a guided meditation, breath work, where the emotions that are not processed come out physically of your body through a release with a guided meditation or a guided practical healer. And so many times we hear that when we have an emotional experience as a young child, if you're told, stop crying or stop complaining, then you push the emotion down and you bottle it up and it creates dis-ease in the body. And people that have chronic back pains or they develop psoriasis and things like that, it's usually unexpressed emotions. And so most people struggle from being triggered by something that was unprocessed when they're younger. So let's say that you're in line and you're trying to return an item at Walmart or what have you, and the person doesn't let you return it and you have a breakdown. You're like, you guys are giving me bad service. I have to return this. And you have a tantrum. You're going back to maybe when you're 8 years old and your needs weren't met as that person. And if you keep on doing that, arguing with employees or, a client doesn't show up on time and you have to act out, then you need some help. You've got to go back through awareness and go, I can't regulate my emotions. That's the superpower, is no matter what's happening, is for you to be able to process and become aware and be able to go, okay, this is just an offering of a dialogue. A lot of people don't realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. And once you become conscious of that, then you have a chance to attach the empowering meaning to that experience. But most people are so caught up in their identity of who they think they are. They're like, well, I'm not a morning person. I'm not extroverted. I'm not a go-getter. You are easy for you, Gogo. You go after it. You're bold. You're hyper motivated. I'm not that kind of a person. No. Somewhere along the line, you got beaten down and you gave up. And now you look for ways to play the victim. And I agree with you 1,000%. I would say that 98% of people are spending 75 to 80% of their time as poor me, woe is me. I didn't get the break. I didn't have the chance. And it's really, really disempowering. And by the way, globally as a society, with everything that's happening, I don't know if you would agree with me. Now, you can't say something to offend somebody. I have a friend who had
I always tell people you can only offend me, I should say, if I cared about your opinion. Everyone needs to freaking stop caring about what the other person thinks. Everyone has thoughts. Everyone has an opinion about them. They are entitled to it. It's a free country. You can think what you want. You can say what you want, but it means nothing in my life. I know who I am. Someone's description of me has no effect on my life whatsoever. But it's so hard. If you didn't learn to love yourself and respect yourself, then you give too much power for somebody else's opinion. You can't offend me. I have to care first. First, I would have to care about your opinion.
And you have to take it in and you have to verify it with the way you talk to yourself. Do you spend time, Gogo, going around and telling homeless people they're losers?
No.
Why would you do that? You have no time to do that. The people that are complaining about other people are people that are behind those people in their life's progress. I don't have billionaires running around looking at Rock Thomas and going, oh, he's such a loser. They're busy focused on creation, not on breaking things down. The people that look at you, they're jealous, envious. They are mad that they're not going for it, right? They're upset that they haven't figured out a path. And so the way that you have the tallest buildings, you break everyone else down. You know that.
I wrote down while you were talking, I learned one of these things at a Tony Robbins event. He said at one of the events of how cheap my mood is. And I was like, what does he mean by that? You remember? And then he tells the story that one time one of his employees that was I hate to put it this way, but an insignificant employee. It wasn't like a CFO or something, right? It was an employee of 50 some thousand employees, but it pissed him off and ruined his day. And he lost his shit, excuse my French, right? And so then Tony Robbins came to the conclusion, he's like, hold on a minute. Why would I give someone that much power? Why would I give someone so much power? Like he said, how cheap my mood is that someone, one sentence or something they do or something they say, you would allow them to ruin your whole day. When you get mad, you're giving someone else power over your day, over your mind, over your emotions. This is why you have to check it at the door. Like, don't give someone that much power. Like, you getting offended over what somebody says, that's because you allowed them to have that much control over your life.
Yeah, I agree 100%. How vulnerable is your happiness? How easily are you willing to give it away to what somebody else said? And I recently was in Asia and we did this class and it started with, it was yoga, and it started with laughing yoga. Absolute gorgeous soul. And for 1 minute we laughed. I think more people, no matter what you're going through, just fake laugh for a minute and tell me you don't feel differently. You can't do it without physiologically feeling different. And what do most people do? They opt for something on the menu called, I feel depressed, upset, frustrated, disappointed, unhappy, and they play that. And the more you play it, you practice more of that. So why not practice being happy, free, loose, grateful, joyous for no reason? You're upset for no reason. Why not be happy for no reason?
I had to figure out, I have a little bit of a head. I've worked on it. I'm still working on it on certain days, but there are times when, one of my employees would do something and I would just go off on them. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, that was so stupid. Why would you do that? Right. And I was like, I don't like that side of me. I don't ever want that part of the go-go to come out to play. Right. And I was like, okay, I need to figure out what triggers it and how to handle it. Right. So again, at a Tony Robbins event, he tells the story how his employees now say how fascinating. Something is so fascinating. How so quickly you could lose such a large amount of money, right? And so I came back from the event and I told my employees, I said, from now on, when you find a mistake, I want you to use the word fascinating and just tell me, hey, Gogo, I found something fascinating. And then as soon as they say that, now I know, okay, something negative is coming. I can check my attitude at the door. They already warned me, right? So I'm like, okay. So now I have a smile on my face because now I'm laughing. I'm like, okay, what is the fascinating thing that you found? And it's so much better. Like, I hated being mad. And it was just the thing. Like, it was just, I guess maybe I got it, I would say, from my mom or dad. I'm not exactly sure. They probably both have a little bit of a quality of that, right? And I really wanted to figure out, because I don't like that side of me. I don't like that feeling. I don't want to spend time in those negative thoughts. So that was my solution to the problem, is I asked my employees to give me a heads up when something fascinating is coming my way. And then I
like that as a strategy, because I think our brains are hypersensitive to protecting ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so it uses the unknown as a signal for danger. So this is a little preview of, events to come. It's like, hey, something fascinating. Now you can regulate your brain. Okay. You don't have to go into hyper defense, and anger is just an accumulation of fear anyway. Get ready to look at this with a fresh perspective. And so it's actually what we would call a strategy. A lot of people say, hey, you should have a positive attitude. I go, try that when you have a flat tire, when it's raining out, or when somebody, dents your car and drives off. You need a strategy to be positive. You need a
Yeah.
better question to ask yourself. You need a better focus. So asking what's great about this, or changing your belief to there's always a way when I'm committed and creative. That's a strategy that allows you to be a better performer, right? And so people forget that piece. If you're going to be a good life coach, you need to be strategic. That's why Tony Robbins says he's not a motivator. He says, I'm a strategic coach.
Coach.
He gives all of us resources and ways in an environment to succeed.
Yeah. And then I used to get mad at why am I always the one that finds the mistakes, right? Like, why doesn't everybody just bring something to the plate? Like, you're spend time in all of these platforms or apps or this and that or trackers. I'm like, why am I always the one finding all the mistakes? And come to find out, because they were afraid of me, because they knew I'm going to fly off the handle when we have a mistake, right? So they were just like, I'd rather not even bring it to Gogo because my head's going to spin, right? And now instead they'll bring it to me because they know if they bring it with the word of fascinating, right, it's just going to be a cute little laugh. We have a problem, we fixed it. But I had to figure out about my own personality, right? So there's so much work that we have to do on ourselves too. If there's something about yourself that you don't like, fix it. Figure out what is that triggers it. Figure out why do you react that way? What happened to you in childhood or sometime that's your initial instinct, right? And then break it. Figure out what is that thing that can break it for that puts a smile on your face. So when they say fascinating, I'm like, okay, here we go. What's the problem this time, right? And it's just a totally different problem solving than getting totally mad. So then how did you get into, so we went kind of through your childhood and all that. You worked through it. You became Rock Thomas. How did you get into real estate? Because you owned Remax offices, you owned Keller Williams offices. So that's another thing we have in common, the real estate path.
Well, I bankrupted a restaurant at 23 using all of my mother's savings. And through desperation, I moved to Quebec City and rented a room in a house and became a flight attendant, which was a job that was offered by my ex-partner. And I parked cars at night at Hotel des Gouverneurs. And I was reading a book called Nothing Down by Robert G. Allen because I was like, I need to make money fast to pay my mom back. I'm broke and I'm driving a $200 car. And I learned how to buy a house with no money down. I put $2,000 on a credit card, owner financing on a house. And back then it was probably really way ahead of its time. Today it's called house hacking. But I had a house where 4 people rented rooms from me. And I was able to create enough revenue by living in this house, paid all the bills, and was able to, through my 2 other jobs and this, pay back my mother in 18 months her $20,000, which, 34 years ago is like $60,000 or $80,000 today. And I started to realize that real estate is a leveraged opportunity to make money. So I bought another home in Montreal, Canada, and I turned it into a senior citizen home because my mother had the ability to take care of elders. And we rented 9 rooms and we took care of seniors. I did all the maintenance on the property and my mom took care of the elders and did their pedicures, manicures, and fed the food and all that. And we were making $110,000 a year, again, back then, which is like $300,000-$400,000 now. I had my job working now as the director of the in-flight. And I bought a rental property. And right around then, my father got sick with cancer. I flew several times on my passes to Australia to take care of him where he was at. All designed because, and I tell this a little in my Goalcast video, because I wanted my dad to be proud of me. This was an opportunity for me to go, okay, my son's amazing. He flies across the country. He helps take care of me and all that. And when I came back one day, I lost my job. They fired me because I was away so much. And I tried to sue them. I lost a bunch of money. I went through a divorce that fell apart. My whole life went in shambles. And very quickly, in about a year and a half, I lost all of the properties I had and ended up back on my mom's couch after being evicted from my apartment. I couldn't pay the bills. I was paying off back taxes for my dad. And I was depressed and feeling sorry for myself and spending way too much crying in my beer at the bar and not working, and couldn't understand how this happened. I was a millionaire by the time I was 29. And within 18 months, I lost it all because I couldn't manage myself emotionally. I couldn't regulate. And one day, after about 6 months of feeling sorry for myself and hanging out with a bunch of losers, I drove by this house and went into an open house. And this agent made it seem simplistic. She's like, and this is the living room, and this is the kitchen. And I'm like, I think I figured that part out. So I thought to myself,
No shit,
you know what?
Sherlock. Yeah.
I have the skill level for this job.
I qualify. I know this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I went and applied for my license, got the job, and got into real estate. I was so afraid that people would see how stupid I was that I never went in for any trainings or anything. And it took me 11 months to make my first sale to the Burger King manager next door, because that's the only guy I could afford to buy burgers from. And after absolute desperation and working at the senior citizen home at nighttime, cleaning and taking care of elders and to put gas in my car, I finally succumbed and took a course from still remember his name, Roger Butcher. And he came in for 2 days and he taught scripts and dialogues. And the next year, I sold 32 homes. And then 45.
I remember you telling me this in a training, that every no worth $40. Yeah. You want to explain that? Because, I was never a cold caller. I never wanted to do scripts. I never wanted to do role play. The idea of that gives me the weebie-jeebies. And then I had you on a coaching call talking about cold calling and, generating business that way. And the way you explained it of like, I just knew if I dial this many calls and I don't remember your numbers, it was a commission. And I think your average commission at the time was $4,000. So you knew that if you got 100 no's, it was $40 a piece, right? So you just knew that the 100th is going to be a commission, right? And so you didn't mind every no because it was still, you considered it $40. And that was the first time, because I'm all about numbers, right? And I love math. And to me, I make business decisions based on numbers, not feelings. And so that way I was like, oh, I can do cold calling that way. That way I can do it because I know that the no has a value. And as long as it has a value, then in my mind, it's worth continue doing it.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff you said there, so I won't repeat it. But I'll tell you this. I played golf yesterday, and the first 9 holes, there's a bunch of guys, we kind of know each other. We were just playing for fun. And I said on the back, let's play for money. Completely changed the focus and the meaning of every shot. The same thing when you know your numbers. If you're dialing and calling and you're not getting anywhere, you feel like you wasted a day. Another day you get an appointment, you want to quit because you feel good. But when you know your numbers, it gives meaning to every call. And humans seek meaning. And so if you haven't figured out a way like Gogo and I have to trick your brain to give it meaning so that you're motivated, then you're going to struggle. Numbers are a really great way to leverage yourself. Michael Jordan and all these greats, they have gambling addictions because playing poker without $1 million on the hand has no meaning for them. There's no pain or pleasure associated to it. So we as humans, wherever you are at the level that you're at, you've got to give it meaning. In M1, we have a thing called CPR, right? What's your commitment and what's your consequence and what's your reward? Because you're tricking your brain as a human to give it meaning to say, hey, if this occurs, there's going to be some dopamine, or if this occurs, there's going to be some adrenaline that says, step the F up because your life sucks. And so people that are successful actually have just found a way to be a really good drug dealer. That's all we are, right? Like, we all want the drugs.
I use the CPR method. I teach it since you taught me, right? And I use it on myself all the time. So I just built a new business. You'll be proud of me. I built a business and it took me a month and a half to do it. And I was sitting one night here and I'm like, holy shit, like that's going to be a $600,000 income. That is a 6 months contract, right? So it's pretty much guaranteed income that's going to be coming in every single month. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need my dangling carrot. Because what gets celebrated gets duplicated, right? So now I need that reward. And I was like, okay, I want this cute little, what is it called? Louis Vuitton crossbody bag. And it's pink, right? And I'm thinking to myself, then the little monkey's like, well, do you really need another Louis Vuitton bag? Like you could probably keep it and just put it into another fund to buy another piece of real estate and blah, 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 right? So I'm talking to myself of like, what's the right thing to do here? But then I was like, no. I need to celebrate something that I worked for. I need to give myself that gift because then I'll go do it again. right? I want to feel that good feeling of like, hey, you said this is what you're going to do. You did it. Here's your gift at the end. Here's your gift. Like doesn't matter what it is, right? At this time, I wanted this pink little Louis Vuitton bag, but there is that R in the CPR, right? My commitment was to build it in 2 months. We did it in a month and a half. We did it so fast and I didn't even stop to realize the end value of that. So when I did the math and I was like, holy shit, I just built a $600,000 income a year, guaranteed income, right? And that, my reward is to go get the cute little purse. So I treated myself this weekend and I got myself a little R in my CPR, right? A little reward.
Good for you. And like you said, whatever you're doing, you're just creating more anticipation for that in the future. Build something, get a reward. You're going to want to build something again. Unfortunately, most people, like I said before, are wiring themselves to avoid challenge, growth, pain, unknown, uncertainty. And so it gets harder and harder to actually get up and build anything. And people that work out first thing in the morning know the difference. If you work out first thing in the morning, Gogo, you feel different during the day. True or true?
True. I just did my tonal today. I did 15-minute abs.
There you go. So you feel better physically, chemically. And like I said, we're drug dealers, right? We all want the dopamine, the norepinephrine, the anandamide, the oxytocin, the serotonin, and you can manufacture it through going for big things in your life and doing things that are a little bit scary. Or you can do it through drugs, alcohol, pills, and get it artificially, but then there's a hangover afterwards that sucks it and claws it back.
Plus, you haven't really achieved anything. I don't understand, being from Eastern Europe, I don't even think we ever used the word depression until I came to the US. I didn't know people with ADHD. I didn't know people with autism. I didn't know people with depression. I didn't know people with allergies. So when I met my husband, he was like, I have to pop an Allegra just to drive on the highway. I'm like, hold on, let me get this straight. What do you mean? Because I never met anyone who had allergies, right? I'm like, what do you mean? So you were telling me you were allergic to the place where you live? I'm like, that makes no sense. So then I went into researching all that. Let me tell you today, he does not take Allegra and he haven't been taking any allergy medication in the last 20 years. I have got to the end of Google on that one, right? I wanted to ask you something though. You were talking about hanging out with your loser friends. So I wrote down the importance of the people who are around you. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
I actually do. And we know this. You are the reflection of the 5 people you hang out with because humans have a need to connect. And so you can't all go out to a restaurant. One person goes to one end of the restaurant and eats vegan and everybody else goes and eats steaks. You wouldn't be connected. So people will flock together. And I just came back from 5 weeks in Asia. And I'll tell you, it hit me harder than ever because the culture, say in Bali as an example, is very soft and demure, and you walk into a place and they put their hands together and they bow. And so you don't hear people arguing and yelling at each other. You could literally walk across the street, heavy traffic street, and they won't even beep the horn. They'll just stop, you walk across, and then they go. They have a different culture of expectation. There's more harmony. There's more things happen for a reason. And so you have to decide very consciously if you want to really evolve, what is the result that you want, and then to put yourself into that room. M1 is based on that. M1 is a group of individuals that are millionaires or aspiring millionaires that want to elevate their game. They want feedback on how they can be a better version of themselves, where they can feel safe for the feedback and they can evolve, but they can also be challenged or supported or encouraged. And most places, if you give people feedback, what's the first thing they do? They spend all their time justifying why they didn't, and they go into fear. And that's not a growth-based individual, right? Average people seek acknowledgement. Professionals seek feedback. And so if you want to be in an environment where you're going to grow and learn and be the best version of yourself, you want to be with other people that echo that same culture. And so, environment to me has actually become even more and more relevant. Back to my golfing yesterday, we went at the turn, and I've been golfing there for 30 years. And I generally bring my own snacks, and I brought an apple and a banana and my own water. But I got to the turn, and this time, just for old sake, my familiar part of my brain was get an egg salad sandwich and a bag of barbecue chips. And that's not how I eat. But
Because
I used to eat that way
you're
with my
plant-based now,
buddies.
right?
Yeah. I used to eat that way 20 years ago, and I went and I got it. And then I had to deal with the guilt, and then it was not that bad. Environment is extremely powerful.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about your podcast, the Rock Your Money, Rock Your World, I think, right? Am I saying it right? How did that
Yep.
how did that start? Rock Your Money, Rock Your
Yeah.
Life.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I started to come across people like you that were making great money, but that weren't managing it well. And I looked at the evolution of success, and you need three things if you're going to become financially free, which, by the way, is really just a way to become emotionally free. Because when you have enough money, you can do what you want when you want, and you can solve problems with money. So the first thing you need is a money-making machine. For many of us that are in real estate, that's real estate, but it could be anything. In my 20s, it was just me working 16 hours a day, driving a taxi and working really hard. And so I made money that way. The second thing you need is you need a way to manage your money. Most people don't have a system for managing it, and most people don't have a budget because that's ugly. And so they kind of make it work, but without tracking it, you're going to miss opportunities, as you well know. So I help people improve their money management system. And then the third part is the investments. And this is where I struggled most of my life. The belief I was taught as a child was life is difficult. You have to work hard. So I went out and worked hard, made a lot of money. I managed it very well, lived below my means. And then I invested with all of my broke friends, shitty environment, which perpetuated that I had to go back and work hard, make more money, and work and give it to my broke friends. So after I realized that that wasn't getting me, yes, I was such a good worker and so good at living below my means, I still became a millionaire. But maybe I would be worth 100 or 200 million today had I had a better phase three. So believe it or not, Gogo, only about 10 years ago did I really start to become a better investor. And even then, I've made some bad decisions because I have a little bit of desire to help people. But those are the three things you need. And Rock Your Money, Rock Your Life was really interviewing people that could help you understand how are you going to make more money. Like you just started a business, you got online businesses, you got multiple businesses now. You're great at recruiting people for your real estate business. That's your money-making machine. But how you manage it had to improve recently. And where you're going to invest that also is a decision that you probably are more active in now. But if you get all three of those, right? If you get all three of those going pretty well, the sky's the limit.
That's what I've been spending my last 5 years on, right? Started with M1, and then since then, so many events, so many masterminds, so many books, so many, trackers, and, learning the tax game and learning cost segregations and depreciation and, commercial investing and syndications and regular and Airbnbs and Bitcoin. And you know what I mean? Like, yes, you have to, like, I like to call it, there's phases to money. There's a phase of making it. And me having the similar childhood as you is like hard work equals money, right? And so I was a worker. I wanted to make my parents proud, so I was a worker, right? I would just be the first and top of the list and everything. Then I was a little bit not so good at managing it. Your team taught me how to track everything. We still use the same money trackers at M1. We added a little tabs to those because we have multiple things to track, right? Initially, we only had our some of my business expenses and then our personal expenses and all that. And then, then you have to make your money, which is phase three of creating passive income through investing your money into places that it makes you more money. So then you have more to invest. So there's a lot to learn. But I feel like they don't teach us any of this, right? Like your parents can teach you that if they haven't done it. Your teachers can teach you that if they haven't done it. If they're making $30, $40, $50,000 a year, how are they going to teach you how to be a multimillionaire, what to do with your money? It's impossible, right? Like I always say, don't ever ask a broke friend how to make $1 million. They don't know. They're going to tell you can't because they couldn't. So it's so important to surround yourself with people who've been there where you want to go. And then how do you do?
And like
you just raise your hand and be like, hey, can I be your friend because you're a multimillionaire? Yeah.
Well, yes and no. I've done that, but you really want to be the type of person that, like, people will tell me, I just went to a networking event for real estate here in Montreal, and somebody came up to me and he goes, "Who are you?" And I go, "I'm Rock Thomas." He goes, "Because there's something about you." And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just looked across the room and I knew you were somebody." And I don't say that to be pompous. I say that because when I look at you, like we had that moment when we met at Tony Robbins, I'm like, there's just an energy, right? We're all broadcasting our personality by the way we carry ourselves physiologically and the way we look at somebody. If you look down and you're timid and you look away and you can't make eye contact, it's different than somebody that burns a hole through you and says, "What are we going to create together?"
I remember
And
I yelled across the room. We were about probably 11, 12 rows apart, right? You were very front and I was about, I would say probably 12 rows in, and we made eye contact and my brain recognized you. My brain couldn't tell the difference, and I don't actually know you. I know you from YouTube, right? And I pointed at you across the room and I'm like, "I know, you're Thomas," right? And I was like, "Oh shit, no, I don't know him." I think I know him. My brain thinks I know him because I watched that YouTube video so many times that my brain was familiar with you, right? But I literally yelled across a room full of, who knows, 9,000 people to be like, "I know you, you're Rock Thomas." Yeah, so I definitely made more than eye contact on that one.
yeah, so energy is so important, and energy comes from, if you pay the price to practice in private, you'll perform in public like a pro. Is we're all rehearsing our dialogues inside, and you have created so much. It's been fun for me to watch you go and watch you. That's my dream, is to find more people like you that I can just help. It's like I would call you, when I met you, a diamond in the rough. I just needed to polish you a little bit, and then off you go, right? And you create so much more. And by the way, mentors are kind of with you for a period of time. My first mentor I met, a key mentor, was when I was 23 in the restaurant business, taught me about, he spoke 5 languages, and he was really great with people. I learned that. Then I had my mentor in real estate, Wayne Jordan, who mentored me to sell 100 homes a year and then buy the company at 94 agents and take it to 275 in 4 years. And then I met Tony Robbins, and he was a key mentor for about 7 years again. Then T. Harv Eker, 7 years with him. And then David Osborne was a mentor in the business world. And so I kind of every 7 years find somebody new that refreshes what I'm going through. And so people that transition through M1 with Rock Thomas, it might be just for a season or for a reason, but then you go on and you birth into a new landscape, and then you just hopefully keep on ascending.
Yeah, it was awesome. It changed my life. I never look at money the same. I never look at, tracking the same. Like we just had a conversation with Dwayne because like, oh, like we got a new property, and I'm like, you have to track it. You have to track the money it's coming in. How much is it costing us? Like everything, right? Anything from interest, like down to the interest rate and the mortgage on the property. It's in the freaking spreadsheet, right? How much did we put down? Then he goes monthly and looks at the value of it monthly, right? Just to see how much equity went up and should we take money out? Like we literally down to the science. And I remember back in the day, I was like, "Do you want to be a part of M1?" He's like, "Nope, I trust you. You go do your thing. You go learn what we need to learn. You'll implement what we need to do, and then, we rock it." And so the poor guy, he actually had a reminder yesterday or Sunday that he needs to do the numbers, right? The trackers reminder. And it was Sunday. And then yesterday was a holiday. I'm like, Tuesday it is. So I'm on lives today. I don't know what he's doing out there, but I can probably tell you sometime today he's going to be filling out his trackers, and he's not the happiest. But hey, our finances are in order. You sleep better at night knowing how much money you make, where is it coming from, where is it going, and then you can plan and what's left,
What's been your greatest success in the last 4 or 5 years for you?
Oh, gosh. Whoa.
I know there's a lot of them. So give us a few if you want.
Yeah, I think building the Team Gogo organization, it was life-changing. So having the 1,500 agents and nationwide, and having the ability to remove myself from production, retire my husband, and create a set passive sort of income. It's really not passive because I work for it very much every single day, right? Agent interaction, but because I love what I do, it doesn't feel like work. So today I don't have to go chase the next commission. I don't have the real estate roller coaster anymore. I deal with agents. Now I help other people achieve their real estate goals, right? And just like, you're happy when you see me succeed, I'm happy when I see them succeed. When someone retires their husband, when, them they icon and they put money in their retirement account, when they're able to achieve things that we were not able to do before we all joined this brokerage together. So the Team Gogo organization within EXP, it's a big achievement for me. Like Dwayne and I just hit 21 years in marriage, right? I think that's a big deal today, in today's era where, people just, they didn't like the way their wife put, I don't know, peanut butter on the toast, and they were like, divorce it is, right? Like, I don't, I'm kind of old fashioned in certain ways, right? And I feel that's a big achievement in today's. And then I have like my employees, the fact that Christy has been with me for over 14 years, that my first VA is still with me today, over 6 years. I love to build a community, and I love the same set of people with me. And I love to have them be a part of the growth, right, through their income, through enjoying their job, to, getting the time off. And then, yes, I've built so many different arms and businesses, like, being a multi-millionaire now with millions in real estate investments when I was so afraid of investing, because I never worked with investors before. Like, that's big. And I just feel like this country is so amazing. Like, you can really be whoever you want to be, do whatever you want to do, no matter what race you are, no matter if you have college education, no matter if you have money. Like, I had none of those. I literally came to this country with $200 to my name. So I'm proud of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's nicely rounded out. We talk about the whole life millionaire because I watched a lot of my top agents for years, get on the stage, be overweight, diabetic, and divorced. And I'm like, that's not success. Mm-mm. Success is a holistic piece to it where you work at your relationship, you have better communication, you take care of your body and your health, even though, today technology is changing, you still have to be, I think, mindful for that. And then money is really just, the more I look at it, really, it's all about emotional freedom. They talk about, F you money. What that really means is that you just don't want to have to deal with that problem. Like, let's say you get a flat tire. Somebody who's broke has to change the tire themselves. They don't have the choice. But if you're not broke, you could just call an Uber and have somebody pick the car up and take care of it. And so money gives you this sense of freedom that you don't have to deal with crap you don't want to deal with anymore.
When
right?
When we moved to Florida, health insurance was just such a bitch. And our oldest is type 1 diabetic, right? So he's costing us a lot of money. Type 1 diabetes is very expensive with all the gadgets and the technology and just everything that he has. So in those few months while we were fighting the insurance company, that child costed us $7,000 a month. And I'm thinking to myself, how would someone with a regular income be able to, how would they be able to fight the same fight? They couldn't. Like, they could not possibly taking care of their child the same way that we were able to take care of, because we could throw money at it, right? We could carry, he wasn't affected. He had the same devices, the same insulin, the same care the whole time because we paid cash for it until we were fighting the insurance company. But, even that situation alone showed me that money does solve a lot of problems. And I hate to say it, I was raised that rich people are miserable human beings and you don't want to be rich. And the thing in the Bible that a rich person will have an easier time or a camel will have an easier time go through the eye of a needle than a rich person will have to get to heaven. So I was raised with those type of philosophies with money, and it was a fight, to get over, to realize that no, money just makes you more of who you already are. If you're a good person, you'll just have more to do good with.
Yeah, that being said, I will also say that your skill set changes. Like you talked about before, you have to learn about taxes, you have to learn about incorporations, and a lot of people are uncomfortable or intimidated with that. So they think that they get a couple of $1 million and life's going to be great. No, you still have things you have to solve. And there's probably going to be not really passive income because everything still has to be managed. And even if you have 100 doors, You might make $20,000 a month or $30,000 a month, and then you have one air conditioning unit that blows, that costs you 50 grand. And all of a sudden you're like stressed. So it's a scale of management. The most important thing that I could leave with, your listeners is you've got to be able to manage and regulate your emotional responses. Whether you're a billionaire or a millionaire, you're still going to have to regulate that. The sunset on the beach is no more expensive for the billionaire than for the broke person. It's how you're going to experience it. And the problem you have paying your mortgage or refinancing, a $1 billion building is going to be how you emotionally process it. So that's really where the work is, and everything grows out from there.
We did a full circle. I don't know if you noticed. We started with emotional readiness for this life. I have a friend who says different levels, different devils, right? So you never really arrive. You never really arrive at different levels. You just have different size of problems that always have to be solved. So Rock, as a closing statement, what do you think people should work on if they're not emotionally ready for their reality, or they don't like the way they react, let's say?
Well, there's a few steps to that. So I'll leave you a couple of thoughts. Number one is people have to decide if they really want to grow in their life, because a lot of people have kind of quit on that one. They're like, I just want Netflix and a bag of popcorn. They're content. I literally have a staff member who I just hired as a personal assistant. I changed that to working agent services. And I said to her, if there's something you need to learn, a software or what have you, would you be willing on the weekend or evenings to learn on your own in order to be better at work, to be able to advance quicker? And she said, no. My father told me not to overwork. And I was like, I'd like to flabbergasted. So there is a portion of population that have zero interest in actually expanding. So if you're in that camp, the rest of what I'm going to say is not going to be appropriate to you. But if you have a desire, there's a voice inside of you that says there must be more. There must be a reason why I'm here. Then what you can do is the very first thing is work on your breath. You can go without food for 30 days. You can go without, water for 3 days. You can go without breath for 3 minutes. So what's the most important thing? How you breathe. So that's where I start with people is, if you take 3 deep breaths when you're stressed, you'll have a better response. It's been proven that your vagus nerve will settle down, etc. And so breath is the most important practice, whatever you do. Exercise more, walk more, take the stairs when you can, get into a yoga class, etc. The number 2 thing is you got to visualize where you want to go. Not focus on the gap of where you're not, but where do you want to go? And then allow yourself to merrily get there. And then the last thing I'd say, if you're having trouble, is you got to get some sort of a coach or get into some sort of a group of people that they can help you have a new experience for the way you're experiencing the world. A coach really is somebody who's going to say, hey, Gogo, you're looking at that situation stressed because, you're not growing fast enough. How about if you looked at it this way, that you're actually positioned with a problem that other people also can't solve? And if you just solve a little bit, 1% better, and you don't quit, you'll lap the field. How about that? Oh, I never looked at it that way. So a coach, an environment, a group, a tribe that can give you a reflection, work on your breath, work on the future of where you want to go, get a lesson from the past. And that's kind of the heartbeat that I have for my life. I can't change what is. So I try to be as grateful as possible, even if it's spilt milk or, a dent in my car. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And the last thing I'll say is I think people should laugh more.
Even if it's fake. I remember learning the quote called, put a mirror in front of you, right? And see if you smile while you talk. And man, does it make a huge difference just looking at yourself in a mirror and smiling while you're talking. I was like, oh my gosh, it's hard work. It's like you're working the muscles in your face. So, Rock, is the best way for the world to find you is rockthomas.com and also at rockthomas on Instagram?
Yep, that is exactly right. And of course, we're constantly helping people change your life through different modalities. Lots of free content out there. So it's always a pleasure to come across people that want to elevate their game and point them in the right direction. I have lots of resources.
Thank you so much. And everyone, feel free to reach out to Rock, ask him about the M1. Make sure to mention my name so he knows that I sent you or you came from the Gogopreneur show. And also right under this episode link, there's going to be a link directly to the M1 program. So if you're watching, you can just click below and the link will take you directly there. But if you'd rather just message Rock personally, feel free to do that at Rock Thomas on Instagram and make sure to mention Gogo. Thank you, Rock, so much for your time.
Pleasure. Good to see you.
Thanks for joining Gogopreneur. Keep that go-getter spirit alive. Until next time, go get 'em.